My name is Trevor Jackson. I'm the Director of IT Infrastructure and Architecture at SOCAN. So SOCAN is a society of composers and authors and music publishers of Canada. What we do in a nutshell is we license the use of music in Canada for businesses. We collect the royalties on behalf of our members and the publishers. We ensure that they're paid their proper royalties for the performances of their music publicly. We'll be talking about the HP 3PAR 7450 all-flash solution. In the business that we're in, we deal with a lot of data. I like to think of ourselves as big data before big data was big data. We've been around since 1925. Obviously there weren't computers back then, but a lot of the work that we did do as far as collecting performances was done paper-based. In the last 25 years or so, we've since moved over to computer technology. In the last 4 or 5 years, what we've really seen with the advent of a lot of online musical sources, especially things like YouTube, Spotify, Netflix, we're seeing a large influx of the amount of information that we're having to digest or ingest as an organization to do processing on. So one of the problems that we have is the throughput or the IOPS that was available to us through traditional storage array. We had a traditional tier SAN storage array, and we knew that with all the new data that's coming in, we had to ensure that we were positioned well to be able to handle the increasing amount of data that was being sent to us on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. One of the things that I really liked about the 3PAR solution, going back to the architecture, is it's a unified architecture for their entire suite of products. Companies like NetApp and EMC, they have a very broad spectrum of products, but as you go through their portfolio, the way that they're managed, the way that the team would have to interact with that product, it differs. So I was looking for a platform that would allow us to scale, because as we know, the data is not becoming less and less, it's increasing. So someday if we need to increase the SAN that we have right now, I feel very comfortable that if I was to choose another product within the 3PAR suite, that my team can get it off and running off the ground very quickly. Yeah, we've seen a huge improvement in processing times. And coming from a traditional SAN over to the HP 3PAR all-flash solution, we saw about a 90% reduction in the processing time to some of the batch processes that we were running, which for us is very, very huge. I would say it's very scalable. I mean, we're not at the point now where we've had to increase the size of our SAN, but from what I've seen on paper and my discussions with the HP engineers, we're very comfortable that we're in a good spot for the next 3 to 5 years with the solution that we selected. However, we know that if we need to move to a higher tier of a solution, that we'll feel comfortable in bringing another product in because of the flexibility and the seamless transition from one platform in the 3PAR lineup to another. Oh, it's been incredible stability. To use an anecdote, the solution we're on before was a dual controller solution, which is kind of a misnomer because the way that the system balances itself, if you have any controller that's running a bit higher than the other, say 50, 60%, and one controller goes down, well, that one controller now has to take the additional load from the other controller. So what we realized at one point was we had a controller that had to go down for maintenance, and during that maintenance window we had some performance issues because the one controller had to pick up the load for the other controller, and it caused our environment to run slower than we would have liked. With the 3PAR solution, it's a 4-controller system, or 4-node system. It load balances very well. It actually does it automatically for us. Something that my team had to struggle with actually with the EMC solution. So for us, it's been great. We've been doing maintenance upgrades on this solution with little to no impact at all on the environment. So it's been very stable for us. Yeah. The feedback I've received from the team is that they've been very responsive, very attentive to the questions that they've had, very responsive to any problems that we had initially rolling out. I mean, problems are just a little bit of growing pains and trying to understand the solution, because it's a little bit different than where we came from. But over the past few months, we've been running with the solution. It's been great. I would like to see a little bit more automated reporting. As an IT director, I would like to get a better view, high-level view of how the environment's performing, instead of having to go and ask my guys. That would be my only feature request. We were previously using EMC. We looked at EMC, obviously, with their Extreme I/O product. We looked a little bit at NetApp. We haven't had a previous relationship with them, so we didn't look too deeply into it. And then we also obviously looked at HP 3PAR. Well, the HP solution to us made a lot of sense. When I was at Discover last year and I saw the keynote about the $2 per gigabyte, that intrigued me very much so. Flash has been around for a while, but as everyone knows, it's been a very expensive technology. For a company like ours, we really strive to drive value to our members. We're considered a non-for-profit, meaning that for every dollar that we collect, what's not used for operational purposes goes right back to our members. So obviously, the lower we keep the cost, the more money we give back to our members, and the greater benefit we provide to them. So that was one of the most intriguing things about the solution. The other thing that really drew me to the HP 3PAR Flash solution was the architecture of it. Being an architecture person, infrastructure person, it made a lot of sense to me. Extreme I/O, it's a great product, but again, it was a great architecture, but a different approach to solving the same problem that we sort of had to address with the HP 3PAR solution. Performance is very important to us. Like I mentioned, we get a lot of data. We do a lot of data processing for a company of our size, and of course, cost and value for our money is very, very important to us. I would rate it at a 9. I would say a 9, just because I think 10 there's always room for improvement. Maybe 2 years from now, we'll be seeing Flash costing 10 cents a gigabyte or something like that. But we've been extremely happy with the solution. My team that manages it, and as well as my customers, being the business and the application developers, are all very excited about what Flash can do for them, for their workloads. What I recommend to other people looking at all Flash solutions, I would take a look at not only the company that's selling it, but the background of the technology itself. There have been a lot of Flash startups, being purchased by big name companies like Cisco, EMC, et cetera, et cetera. So don't let the big name fool you. Do your homework, make sure you ask the right questions, and look at the history of the product. Talk to some of their customers and get their feedback and see how they're doing with the solution. Absolutely. Flash as a solution for us was very obvious. Reason being, as I mentioned before, we're very data intensive. For the longest time, disk has been our bottleneck in our processing service and our processing capabilities. With Flash, we have no concerns. So it's been a very, very great and positive experience for us. I think there was one, I wouldn't say gotcha, but one thing that we kind of had to know going in to take advantage of some of the technology that the 3PAR had, like the inline deduplication, was the block size. So by default, when you deploy a Windows server, it formats a disk with a 4K block size. To take advantage of that, you have to use 16K or higher. So if we had thought of that ahead of time, we would have seen benefits more sooner. But now that we're well into our deployment, we've obviously made that adjustment. So I would just say to make sure that people look into that before they deploy. I would say very important. Salespeople being salespeople are trying to sell you their product, that's their job. But when you want to talk to the customers and get feedback from the people that are actually using it, the people that spend their hard-earned dollars, that are actually supporting the product, I think that is very valuable in itself, and it's very important to me. Through networking, obviously, talking to some of my peers. When I do deal with salespeople, I ask them for references. They obviously give you curated references, but to ask the right questions and ensure that people that you're talking to are generally being honest, and they generally are. They don't want to mislead you, so it's good to have that relationship beforehand and even afterwards reaching out to speak to people.